Now, so most of you have used my APIs. So in my API, I normally return data. All my API response will be fixed. When we work on a particular project also now, you might find like all your API, whichever you are using in your project, have fixed response type. Okay, fixed response type as in you get result data or status code or something on all the API means return type. Whatever the data you are going to get from your APIs, all APIs have the same response type. Okay, so there are multiple ways how we can return the data. So first I will be explaining how do we return our specific model, means according to our API need or based on the discussion we had with our team. So what type of data you need from all the API. Okay, so for that we will go with this controller what we created. So what we do normally, we create a class. Okay, so that class will be like what type of data I'm going to return from all my API. Common response we will say. Okay, what type of common response I'm going to send from my all API. So for that, let's create a class. So public class, let's say common response model. Okay, just a class I'm creating. Now, what things or what we should expect in API response? Can anyone tell me like what things we should be expecting in an API response? Let's say I'm asking
Status
you
code.
uh, for all your API, either it is get API, post API, put API, or delete API. In all APIs, you should have a common response type. So what properties we should expect in
Res-
a response?
Result,
Hmm.
message,
Status code.
data.
Status code, result, message, or data also, right? See, if it is a get API, you need to send the data, right? Your array. If it's a single API, which is reading a single, still you are going to pass an object. If it's a delete API, you need to send like it API, the record got deleted or not, something like that, right? So you need a class which will handle all these different response type. Guys, please be on mute. Please be on mute. Okay. So that response model I'm creating over here. So let's say we will go with result property. It will have, sorry, public, what type of Boolean data? Bool result. Okay. Getter setter property. Then we need public. Sometimes we need to send the message also. Let's say if API failed, we need to send the result. Sometimes it might be warning like username is unique and we want to say like username already exists or email already exists, something like that. Sometimes it might be validation. Sometimes it might be some error, whether it is a database error or our API is down or something. It can be anything. So we need to send the message also like why my API got failed. So we need a variable with string data type, and that will be message. Okay. So this result property will decide if API call is success or not. We will send it as true or false. And in message, we will be using this property when we got any error or we want to send some warning message, or even if for success also we can send it. Okay. Because in some project now, the success message or the like API success message, we get it from the API side as well. And that we showcase in the UI. In some project, we might show that message in the UI side. Okay. So it's based on the project to project. Our scenarios might change. Okay. So result property, message property, then we will need one property that will be data. Okay. So public. Now here, when we say data, so let's say if your API is a get API, which is going to return all the data. So you are going to return array type of data. Array you will return. Let's say your API is single API, which is going to return a single object. Let's say get by ID or something API will be there, na? Like this. So you are going to, from this API, you are going to return a particular single object of employee, right? Sometimes let's say you want to return true or false also in the data. So you need a property where you can send any type of data. Sometimes you will send a single object, and that to data type means model, what type of model you are going to return, that also you don't know. So we need a dynamic property over here. Okay, so how do we create a dynamic property? So over here in data type, instead of boolean string, we will use object now. Okay, and the data type will be data. Again, getter setter properties we will need. So this is the class. Okay, now we need to initialize these properties also. Okay, so we will use our constructor public, our common class model. Then, so you can see in our in our class, we have three properties. So it will come over here. See if we write it, say it is suggesting. Okay, then curly bracket, and we need to assign this to this variable. So result, it's not coming. Okay, let's change it to capital R, because my variable name and the property name will be same then. Message, and over here data. Okay, so we know that object, it can be, sometimes we will be sending data over here, sometimes we cannot send the data. Let's say your API got failed, so what you are going to send into the data? Na data will be null, so I'm assigning null over here. Okay, then boolean, so boolean we can assign false value, and it's a string, so we can assign an empty value. So just initialization I'm doing. Okay, and whatever the parameter we get, that we will assign to our variable. Result is equal to this parameter value what you got. Then message is equal to capital message, data is equal to capital data. Okay, so this is the model which we have created, and this model will be our common response type for all our API. Okay, now we have created our model. Now this model we can use in our controller. Let's say we will start from the top. So get all employees. So this API was returning a data type of employee master, list of employee master it was returning. But now I want my API to return common model. So instead of specifying this return type, I will use this model, common response model over here. Okay, so now since we are returning, since we have provided the return type as common response model, we have to return that also. So now over here we will create an object of this model, new, like this. Okay, now here I will add the try catch block also. Okay, so try. Okay, so try catch block, whatever our actual code will go into the try block. Okay, in JavaScript also we have the try catch, just like that over here also we have try catch. Okay, so now instead of returning the list, now we will be assigning the data to this variable object we have created, dot result. So from try we will send it as true, then underscore result dot data we will pass list this. Okay, if it's a success, we don't have to assign something message over here. Okay, so we will simply return result over here. Now if it, let's say while running this code our database is not up, or we have some problem with our database, or anything, let's say one property mismatch is also there. In database we have property as boolean, but here we have taken that property as string, so our API will fail. I mean this line will fail. So if this line will fail, it will go over here. Okay, so now from here also we need to return the proper code. So result dot result, now here we will make it as false. So denoting like API got failed. Sorry. Now why API got failed, that we message also we need to send, right? So that message we will send it over here. Exception underscore result dot message. So now in exception we get so many things. Okay, so in message we get so many field. Just a minute. Okay, so in exception we will get whole exception, like inner line exception, message, everything. So again in project video I will be explaining how do we create a reusable function where we can handle all exception, but for now just we will return the message. Okay, So in exception, we get to see so many things. See, message, inner line exception, data, so many things will be there. We will simply just return the message. Okay. Now, if you want, you can send the exception object also. So in data, you can send that object. Whole exception object you can send like this. And instead of throwing, we will actually return the underscore res. Okay. So see now, your API will execute. It is going to return this model. Okay. Let's run this first. Let's add a debugger. Okay. Now if you see, okay, master API now. So if you see the return type, see, it is saying like we from this API, this is the model we are going to get. Okay. Let's click on try it out, execute. Okay. Now it will go to the try block. If this particular line execute properly, we will get the data. See, we got the data. Okay. Why it is, yeah, 7 list. Okay. Now in our object, what the class object which we have created, we are assigning result as true, and in data we are assigning the data, and simply we are returning this model. Continue. So now over here you can see we got object now, and inside that object result property is true, message is by default empty because we didn't initialize that, and in data you got the actual array. So now in your Angular side or React side, you will write the check in subscribe. If result is true, then only you will use the data. Right? Now I will change the connection string so that this line will break. Okay, I will just change the password. Where is the pass? Okay, we didn't have the password. Let's change the database name. 1. Okay. Now I won't be able to connect the database because I have changed something in the database name. So now my API should break. Okay. So it will go to the catch block now. Master, get all employee, try it out, execute. Okay. So on this line, it will break now because we have changed our database name. Why it is still running? Yeah. Okay. So now you can see in catch we have got, because on this line we got an exception. So it will execute our catch block. Okay. Now in catch block in exception, you can see in message you have got exception raised, something transient error. But in inner exception, you can see the actual error. Cannot open database requested by the login. So in message field, now you get very generalized message, very generalized. But a detailed message will be in the inner line exception. Inner exception dot message. See. Okay. So sometimes we can, that's what I said. In data, we will send the whole exception object. But in message, we can send our respected, like sometimes we get the proper message in the message also. Sometimes we have to use from the inner line exception also. Okay. And in exception, we are making this result property as false. Let's continue. Wait, why we got 500? Method based serialization instance is not supported target site. Why it is throwing error for deserialization? Do we have to handle this throw also? Wait, anyone getting what we are doing wrong over here? Actually, our API is breaking. It's not returning this particular data. Why it's not returning? Let's add throw. Let's try. .NET guys, is throw needed in catch block? Amir, is .NET Mehboob is
Yes, sir.
needed in PHP?
Uh,
It's not a required pro.
Why it's not returning the
what is the error, sir? What is the error message?
it's saying
Exception message.
500 in
500.
serialization, not supported exception.
So I think list.
No. Whenever we return the data, it's serialized, right? In JSON
Hmm.
format. So there it is breaking. See JSON.convert. But why it's breaking over there? Is it because we are passing the exception object or what? Let's try to remove this
But
exception
it,
object.
uh, but sir, it is coming from try block only, no? If try
Yeah.
is having
No,
any wrong thing, then only it is
no,
coming
no, no.
to patch.
Try if correct, if try block is correct, we are sending the correct model. But if it goes into the catch in API, it is saying 500, but we should get the model response, this model response. It should not break 500. We should get this model in response, just like how we are getting in the success. Okay, let's try this. Right, consecute. Continue. Yeah, okay. So that error was because in the data we send the exception object, and in the exception object, I think there was a circular dependency. So that's why when all our API response get converted to JSON, right? So in that it was breaking. So that's why we had to remove that. Okay. So now you can see from catch, we are setting result as false, and in the message you get the response, right? Whatever the error is there. And that you normally show in the alert box. And this we use to debug.
So,
Did you get?
sir, what was we were doing before?
We were passing
What
whole
was
exception object in the data. In data property, we were passing the whole exception object, but in exception object, there might be a circular dependency. So if we have some circular dependency, now when we have to convert that to JSON, that method will break. Circular dependency is clear, or do I need to explain? Circular dependency. Let's say if we
Explain the
have
circular
from
dependency.
angular perspective?
anywhere,
I
it is
know,
same.
but
Anywhere it is
so
same. Object.
here where which is okay.
Object. See, we have an object, and inside that we have again reference to the same object. That's a circular dependency. We have an object. Inside that object, in one field, we have a reference of again that object. So that becomes circular dependency. In normal JSON also we can see that, and in C# also we can see that. In Java also we can see that. Circular dependency is not technology limited. Means a phenomenon where in one object we have a reference of again that object only. So that's create a circular dependency. So when we try to convert that into JSON, it will break. So in exception object, I think we have a circular dependency. That's why we cannot send whole exception object as a data. First, you need to convert to string, then you can send it. Okay. So that's the circular dependency. That's why we have removed this. Then our proper response was there. Otherwise, this API was breaking, and we were getting that 500. So this, whatever the model we are returning, we were not getting it. Only 500 was coming over there.
So res.data is a list, not an object. That is why.
In data, we can send it anything. It's a dynamic, na? See, we said object. So sometimes we can send a single object, array, anything you can send. It's a dynamic field. Okay. But in exception object, you got a circular dependency thing, something. And that is breaking when we are converting our response into JSON. That's why I had to remove that. Understood?
Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
So this we have seen in the GET API. Let's try the POST API now. Where is POST API? Yeah. Okay. So now everywhere see the first POST API, what we have done, whatever the model we were getting, that model we were returning back. But now instead of that, we have to return our model, right? So this common response model, we will use it over here. Okay, sorry, over here. Again, I will add a try catch block. Let me change the connection string back to employee DB. Now this code, save changes code, will go over here. Okay. Now, as we say, we are going to return this model. So obviously we have to create an object of it. Result. So we have created object of our common response model. Okay. Now over here, if after this save changes, if everything is fine, we will get it executed properly. Then we need to assign result is equal to true. As our API call got success, result.message. From here also you can send the message. Now this is employee created, employee creation success. Okay. And in data, we can send the object. So in UI, they can get the ID also, updated ID. So this object, we will send it over here. And this return, res will return. Same thing like in catch also. Exception underscore result dot result is equal to true. Sorry, false over here. Underscore result dot message. Above we use message. So here we will use inner line exception dot message. So more specific message also we will get it over here. What it is saying, it can be null or undefined, can be null over here. Question mark. How do we handle null check in C#? Guys, how do we handle null check in C#?
No. If you run the same code, it will not give the error. It is fine.
Yeah, it won't work, but warning was coming, na? Normally I'm asking, how do we handle it? Like this only, na? No. How do we handle null check in C#? Anyone aware? How do we handle it? Null check. And or how do we do that?
Question mark only.
Question mark, but it's giving error. Question mark, if this is there, exception dot inner exception dot message I'm using, correct?
The question mark equal to 0
Question
या फिर
mark.
blank.
Okay, we need to compare if not equal to null.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. Correct. So if this is not null, then I will be using this. Otherwise, I will be using that above message, outside message, exception dot message. So in Angular, we don't have to actually compare it now. It will by default check with undefined and null. But here we have to specifically check. Okay. Then we will return underscore result. Fine. Let's test this also. Master. Not this one. Post API. Just a dummy data I'm passing. Okay. Let's execute. Okay, 400 we have got. So can anyone tell me why 400 we have got? The object field is required. Error object. The object field is required. Why didn't we get the particular field name? In contact number, how many characters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I think email ID is.
What?
uh,
Did we add the email validation on this model? Where it is? No, we didn't add, no? No validations we have added, just max length we have added.
Check this contact number is 10
Contact
or
number might be greater than 10. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3. Let's try with this. Execute. No, still it is giving 400 only. It is giving for email is invalid within a JSON string. What are we doing wrong over here in email? Okay, double quote is missing. See, double quote is missing. Now it will work. Okay, we got the object. Now let's try. It is going into try block. If everything is correct, so we got success in the object. We got the ID. See, okay. So it's a API record got created. So we are returning true over here. So now you can see we got true. So now in your Angular side, you write if result.result is equal to true. You can use this message also, or you can send, you can show your message also. So as I mentioned in the earlier, na, in some project, we get the validation message and everything from API side also. In some project, in UI side, we keep it. Okay, fine. And in data, you get the updated ID also. So now you got the updated ID. So you don't need to make again the get API call. So you can use this ID, you can use this object and push it to your array. So you reduced one API call after the save. Okay. So that's the purpose of sending this ID also along with the save API response. Okay. Now in this API, I will add a check. Let's say I need my email ID to be unique. So what I will do, I will first check where is email. Just a minute. Exist. Underscore context dot employee master dot single or default. Okay. I need to check whatever the email ID user has provided, it's already exist or not. Okay. M dot email. Email is equal to whatever the object we get in the object dot email. So if we get, if already it is there, so we will add a null check. If already we don't have any email already with the email ID user is providing, so we will get null over here. So if it is null, we will run this piece of line. Okay. But if we got an object where we have got the email ID is already present, so there we just need to change underscore result dot message as email already exist. Please try the front one and result dot result property is equal to false. So see, it's not just from your try catch. You can, it's not just in a catch block you will return is false. This is also a scenario where we have to make it false because this is a warning. Okay, let's test this. So these are the warnings also we need to handle. Let's check existing employee ID. Then we will try with that. Let's say an@gmail.com. This email ID is already there. Okay. Let's try to create with the same user. So email will be, I will be using this. Remaining detail, I can pass anything. Okay. If we click on execute. So now first it will try to see if we have any existing record with this email. So see, we got the record, right? ANK with employee ID 2. So it is not null, right? So it will go to the else block, and in else block, we are specifying the proper message. So see over here, we got false, and you in UI side, you will be using this field to show why API got failed, right? Let's try the other way around. Let's change the email ID. Execute. So now whatever the email ID we pass, that if that doesn't exist, we get null over here. Okay, so now our actual scenario will work. Now we got result as true. Understood? Guys, clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, so this is how we normally handle validation, some warnings. Okay. Anyone having any doubt?
I have one. So suppose in the catch block, if instead of returning a rest, we can return a exceptional object also in catch
Yeah.
block.
Yeah, so that's what we tried. In exception, I think we have a circular dependency. That's why our API was getting 500.
Acha, okay. But
In
we are
this,
assigning to the REST object. Directly we are not sending. So
see,
now you are
here
saying if you send a directly EX, then also we
your
will get the error.
API will grep. 500 will be there. Okay.
Okay.
So this model response we won't be getting. But then we don't need the whole object from exception. Na? We need message, data, something we will need. So we will create a separate object and that we will pass it in the data in case of exception. But normally that object is not needed on the UI side. What UI need? Why API got failed. Correct? So that we will get either in message, inner line exception message, or in the message. These are the two things only we will get. So we normally don't pass the whole exception object back to the API.
For
Because-
security reason also, we cannot send this whole object because there is information which can lead to some
Yeah,
problem.
that also possible because let's say if it's a database connection error, so you get the username also. Like by what username we were trying to access, right? So it might be a security flaw. Okay.
That's
why
why we just
normally-
pass only the ex.message only, right? I think
What-
inner
what UI is
exception
going
we
to-
get the
right? UI what needs why API got failed. So that you will get in either the inner line exception message or the message. That is enough for them. Okay?
And the error code will
Yeah. So that this is one way to send the response. There is another way. Like this is in this way, we are not playing with error code. 500, 404, 201, 200. We are not playing with status code. This is one way to return the response. One more way is we can play with the return code. 200, 400, 201, like that. Okay?
okay.
I will explain that then. So this is one way how we send the response by using our custom response model. Okay, so we created this model and in every API we will create an instance of this and we will assign the values and then we will return it back. So all my API will have a common response. So in Angular side, all your subscribe call you will be able to see the same if block and else block. Okay, so that kind of thing normally we do in Interceptor also for error block. Okay, so a common place where we can handle all errors coming from the API. Clear everyone? So with all API, instead of writing what type of model you are returning, you will be having this model only as a return type. Clear? Okay. So we will
Yes.
stop for today. Saturday morning again we will connect. So then I will explain. Instead of using this model, we will play with status code. Okay, because you need to be aware about both the. I think it's again like project to project it will vary. In some project they will return some specific model. Again, there is a combination also with status code also they will return this model. Sometimes status code and the message will also they will send. They won't return a specific model, just status code and why API got failed. Okay, so Saturday we will cover that. And just
Singular
remind-
default. Can you explain this method, singular default?
So whenever you have to search when singular default, the name purpose is like you are expected to get a single record. Where we have explained that. Yeah. So singular default. Whenever you are trying to find an record by using ID, mainly primary key. So we know if we try to find a record with primary key, we are going to get only one record. So in that case, we will use singular default. If it found the record, whatever the ID we pass, we will get the record. Otherwise, it will be null. Okay. Just like that, we have first or default. One more thing. If in singular default, we get multiple records. So this line will break saying multiple record. What was that error? Sequence element contains more than one element. Error we will get. So you can use singular
it means-
default.
It means it should get to the single record only, right?
Only single. So that's why we use singular default only with the primary key. Because we know for one ID, there will be only one record. Correct? But let's say you have a scenario. Let's say you want to filter a record from who has city Pune with order by name and you want the first record. So you will use first or default something. So even if it got multiple record, it will only get the first record. This line won't break. But if it got multiple record in case of single or default, code will break. Understood?
Okay. Yeah.
And where we use to filter out multiple record when we are supposed to get multiple record. Single or default for first, one record, where is for multiple. Just like in JavaScript, we have find and filter. Clear?
Yes, clear.
Okay, so let's connect Saturday morning then. Fine. Thank you all. I will be sharing the code.
Thank
in the
you.
group.
Thank you, sir.